Hello Tottenham fans, welcome back to the channel with me, Kieran, talking all things Tottenham. If you are a regular follower of this channel and you haven't done so yet, please subscribe to the channel. It lets me know you're enjoying the videos. It will help me in the future create more and better content for you guys. So it doesn't just help me, it makes things better for you as well. Please support the video with a like if you enjoy it. And if you really want, you can even turn on the bell notifications so you get notified when the next video goes live. So let's get into it. Unfortunately, I'm coming back to you again with another review of a, quite frankly, terrible, unforgivable, disappointing, lackluster, spineless performance. Now, I think we all thought that after that terrible display against Arsenal in the North London derby, that the players would have given themselves a kick up the backside and come out flying just to keep us fans a little bit happier so we can kind of get over that defeat. But it wasn't to be, was it? They came out and pretty much gave us the exact same performance that we had, albeit this time we had a different area of problem. Obviously, the manager has to take some blame for this performance. The players certainly need to take a look at themselves once again. And there were some interesting comments made later on by Hugo Lloris in his interview after the game. So what we'll do, we'll go through the lineup as usual. I'm not really going to do a review of sort of like the match highlights because for us there were none, and I don't see the point in us having to relive the Zagreb moments. We will talk about some of the Zagreb players, but I'm certainly not going to go through and break down any of the goals and things like that. So here we go. We'll jump in with the lineup. So Hugo Lloris in goal, Davies and Aurier as fullbacks, Dyer and Sanchez centre-backs. Then in front of them, Winks and Sissoko. And then the next bank of three, Ali in the centre with Lamela on the right, Lucas on the left, and Harry Kane up top. So when that lineup was released, very much like against the Arsenal game, I had a concern. And this time round, that concern wasn't the fullback position because I thought, Aurier has performed better than Doherty this season, and with Lamela in front of him, there shouldn't be as many problems. The problem area for me was our midfield with Winks and Sissoko next to each other. I understand Højbjerg is injured, so somebody else has to come into the squad. I don't know if Tanguy was rested from the start because he may have been carrying a knock or was tired. But for me to start Winks and Sissoko next to each other was absolutely criminal. And Jose had said that he wouldn't have been happy if we qualify by losing this game. Now, we didn't qualify and we really lost this game. And my problem with Winks and Sissoko next to each other is they're not the most creative. Winks is a bit of a sideways passing king, and Sissoko doesn't really know what a pass is, to be honest. And there were moments of that we could see in the game. There was this moment like very, very late in the game where he was, I think Bale might have given him the ball out on the right, and he should have hit a first time cross into the box, and he chose not to. He delayed and then passed back and kind of lost us the momentum. So it's just things like that. He's not got a quick enough mind to progress us in attack. So them two, for me, as a partnership, it just invites pressure on. And we saw that a lot. Zagreb dominated the midfield. But apart from that, the rest of the lineup I was fairly happy with. Although I wasn't really happy to see Moura out on the left. It just... He can't give his best football when he's out there. He said himself in the interviews he's had this season, he prefers to play in the centre, he's got more freedom, and I think that really shows. And if you are going to put him on a wing, I would rather have him out on the right. I know managers like inverted wingers because they can cut inside and get cleaner shots, but I just feel for us it didn't really work. I'd go as far to say as I might have rather had Davies play as the fullback and then put Reggie on as the winger because he can do the fending and we know he's got a peach of a cross. Or the alternative was to play Bergwijn. But, it wasn't to be. And I think that's where Jose just got it a little wrong. But if we kind of talk about what happened on the pitch, it was just terrible. Once again, there was, like I've written down in my notes, whilst I was watching the game, complacent, no passion, Kane, non-existent, no leaders on the pitch, Sissoko passing and delays in possession. It's pretty much all I wrote for us for the game, because it just wasn't great. I actually think Sanchez, again, had a fairly decent game. He didn't do too much wrong. He was making some blocks. He made a crucial interception of a through ball into the box. He got his toe to it to flick it away, and Lloris, for some reason, come across and made a save, but it was definitely going wide anyway. And I think Sanchez coped okay. I think the problem centrally there was actually Eric Dyer. I feel like he was all over the place, wasn't he? Anything that come into the box, he was really just dragged all over the place. It was probably one of his worst performances I've seen recently. But we have to remember he hasn't really played a lot of football recently either. So for him to then be partnered next to Sanchez probably didn't help him. But Sanchez has been playing well. And I think Dyer has just sealed his fate as a backup centre-back, and I would expect Toby to be playing against Villa on Sunday. Lloris was okay. I mean, 2 of the shots that beat him were very good. I think he might be disappointed with the third one, that he didn't get closer to it, but let's not take away from Mislav Orsic. He was very, very good throughout the game. That's his second hat-trick in European football as well. He actually scored a hat-trick on his debut in the Champions League. And he looks a very good player. So I should imagine there may be some teams looking at him in the summer, if they can afford him. Another player for Zagreb that I felt was really good was Ademi, who I actually spoke about last time. He came off injured, didn't he, in the game, and it looked quite serious. And as I said, I didn't wish anything bad on him and wished him a quick recovery. I maybe shouldn't have wished him such a quick recovery, because he battled for them in there. He was their Højbjerg, like I said in the last video against them. He really, really epitomised their belief and everything that we lacked. Who else? Teofil Catherine, the former Cardiff defender. I felt like he was very important for them. He put in a really good shift, made some important blocks, did a lot of pressing from the back, didn't really give us any room to breathe. And he actually made a mistake in the last game, and I feel like that is, he's completely wiped himself clean there, because he had a very, very solid performance at the back, and we found it really difficult. I mean, we had chances in the game. We actually had plenty of chances. We just weren't very good. It wasn't... The shots were weak. There wasn't loads of conviction behind them. And as I said, they defended well. The keeper was very good towards the end of the game, made some key saves. A couple of air shots in there from us. Poor timing. I think Ali had an air shot. Vinicius near the end of the game, I think where he hadn't been on long enough, he just misjudged the ball, and we actually nearly scored from it at the back post with Kane, but that was saved. It was just a bit frantic, wasn't it? It was like the Arsenal game. We kind of woke up with 20 minutes to go. In this game, it actually took us 110 minutes to get going. I mean, for the first 90, we were terrible. First half of extra time, terrible. And we woke up with 10 minutes to go in extra time. I mean, that's an absolute joke. From a Premier League outfit, when you've had a 2-0 lead going into this game, you're 3-0 down with the most lacklustre performance we've ever seen. And they turn it on with 10 minutes to go with a load of fresh players on the pitch, and we just couldn't do it. It's too late. By that time, Zagreb were quite happy to sit back and soak up the pressure, and if it had to, I think they were happy for it to go to penalties. They've done the hard work. They fought their way back into the game. We were just absolutely shocking. And we have to admit, although the effort that we showed in that last 10-minute period was worthy of a goal, at the same time, I think had we gone through, we'd still be sitting here today very, very disappointed and worried about what we've got going forward. And maybe the best thing for us is to not be in this competition. You know, we're going to have bigger breaks in between games now, times for the players to recover. And we have to remember we have played a lot of football this season, and it may have taken a toll, but by the sounds of Lloris's interview, there may be deeper things in there. But yeah, we've played a lot of football. The squad has been stretched. I don't think there's been enough rotation. There's been plenty of players that haven't had enough minutes. Vinicius should have played a lot more recently. Bergwijn certainly hasn't had a lot of minutes. Winks and Sissoko haven't really been rotated properly into the squad. There's a lot there that I think has contributed to where we are now. And the mentality of the players on the pitch is dreadful. And, you know, I've seen people blaming Mourinho's tactics over and over again. And tactically, he's not asking them to do that. And although I've said it was a mistake for him to put Winks and Sissoko out there together, that's because we know what we're going to get from them as fans. I mean, maybe Jose has some extra belief in them, or maybe he's seen something in them in training that tells him otherwise. But it doesn't change the fact that constantly we see these wrong partnerships, and it really, really hurts us. I think we desperately missed Højbjerg yesterday. I mean, Lo Celso was fairly bright when he was on, but you could see he'd just come back from an injury in terms of he gave the ball away a lot. He was trying things, but he wasn't really sharp. He made a few runs further up the pitch, cutting through, trying to make his clever passes, but he just got found out fairly often. I think that's just down to not quite being sharp. So maybe bringing him on was a little bit of a mistake, because we didn't know what we were going to get from him. But there's no doubt him and Tanguy did brighten the game up a little bit. But the problem is, when you've only got two players playing, and, you know, Tanguy's deeper, Lo Celso's further up, it's hard for them to have a connection. But the rest of the players just weren't doing it. Now, if we talk Harry Kane, it was a tough one for me. I don't know if it was because he wasn't playing well, or the fact that no one was getting him the ball. But again, from him, it was a very quiet game. And you'd expect from a player of Harry Kane's calibre that if he really wanted the ball, he'd have gone and got it, wouldn't he? We see Harry Kane quite often dropping deep to pick up the ball. And let's face it, with Moura, Dele and Lamela behind him, if he's to come deep, you'd expect that they would be making runs to burst forward. I know Dele tried early on in the game to make a bursting run forward. It just didn't come off for him. But Harry Kane just kind of settled for staying up there and being out of the game. It'd be interesting to know what actually went on behind closed doors after the Arsenal game, because to put that kind of performance out after that game makes me feel like there's something deeper going on. But anyway, you know, the game was terrible. There were some great performances from them. I did say they were going to be harder to beat on their own patch because they'd have that belief. And it turns out, you know, the problems with their manager didn't affect them at all. They really came out. They pressed hard. They played some lovely football in midfield areas. Mislav Orsic was just incredible throughout the game. Man of the match performance. Should earn himself a move to a bigger club in the summer. You know, if people can afford it. Their keeper, I thought, was outstanding. And as I said, Teofil Catherine was very good. So they had people in nearly every position that were very good. But the difference was they had the passion. They weren't going to go down without a fight. And that's what they did. And I think our negative play, it just gave them that belief. And they grew and grew and grew into the game. I mean, if we look at the stats, so possession, I mean, we actually had more. We had 56% to their 44%. But you wouldn't think that looking at it. Shots-wise, we had 17 shots and 5 on target. So we had 5 opportunities on target to put the ball in the back of the net, but they were either weak or straight at the goalkeeper. I mean, a couple of times right at the end, he made a couple of very good saves. They had 21 shots. 21. The reason why I think that is a shocking statistic is because we allowed them to have 21 shots. They managed to get themselves in 21 positions throughout the game to put the game to bed. They only had 5 on target as well. But that for me makes it even worse. Of their 5 on target, they managed to put 3 away. Of our 5 on target, none. You know, we are supposed to be Premier League quality. Harry Kane is one of the best strikers in the world. But this sort of thing here, for me, it takes him out of that world-class bracket at times, because I can't see Cristiano Ronaldo laying down and allowing that to happen in a team that he's playing in. I feel like he fights. He goes to pick up the ball from everywhere he can. And I think there's your difference there. It's just that real elite mentality when things are going against your team. But what else was there? We did actually block 9 shots. And as I said before, Sanchez is very good at blocking shots. And it was a feature early on in the season with Jose. We had a lot of players running out, closing down the ball, and blocking loads and loads of shots. But I feel like that's kind of tailed off recently. That's something we've been missing. So yeah, 9 block shots. They blocked 4 of ours. One of the most disappointing ones for me is aerial duels. We only won 45% of our aerial duels. That is something that we're normally very good at. And that just goes to show that we weren't up for this game at all. We were not pushing ourselves. There was a few times where I actually saw players could have gone in for a header and just didn't go in at all. They stood there and allowed Zagreb the free header. And that annoys me. Like, I stand at, I think it's like 5'6", 5'7". So I'm not tall by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not going to win a lot of headers in games, but the one thing that I always do in a game is just jump with the player or make it look like I'm going for the header. I know I'm not going to win it. They don't know that. Sometimes it's enough to put them off, and that's the same at a professional level as well. Just go in with them, ride the storm. I mean, it's just lack of desire and laziness and complacency that we feel like because we're better than this team and we've already beat them 2-0, that the game's done and dusted. And as we've learned, it's not. You know, Zagreb, whether they play in a crappy league compared to ours or not, does not take away from the fact that they play European football every single year. They have produced some of the world's best talents over the years. They are a good club. They have a good foundation. And we just took them completely for granted. And do you know what else really annoys me? It's mostly unrelated to this game, but me and my partner, we went out for a walk yesterday, get some fresh air, and we went to get a coffee for the walk home. I waited outside. Turns out that was a big mistake. There I am. I feel this like thud on my jacket. I look down. I've been shat on by a seagull. So I wasn't happy about that. So I walked into the coffee shop to ask if they had anything for me to wipe it off with, and girl behind the counter was very nice, got me a brand new cloth, wiped it off, whatnot. And my partner reminded me that it's lucky to be shat on by a bird, and I was like, oh, brilliant. This means we're going to win tonight. So you can imagine how I felt when we put in that completely terrible performance and couldn't even score 1 goal after I'd been shat on by a seagull. Seagulls are big as well. So that was not a small turd down my arm. On one of my favourite coats as well. So now I'm doubly annoyed and feel like I blame Tottenham for me being shat on. So that's enough about the game and the Spursy display that we saw there. If we talk about the post-match interviews, what Jose had to say was this. Zagreb left everything on the pitch, blood, sweat and tears. He praises them for their efforts. My team didn't look like they were playing an important match. He said that all the matches are important for him, for his career, for his job. They're important for the fans. And to feel sad is not enough. He feels much worse. He went into the Zagreb dressing room after the game to congratulate their players, you know, for their efforts, the fact they've come out with a win, which is a nice touch for them. Means absolutely nothing to me. Football is not just about quality players, it's about attitude. Before the game, he warned the players about attitude, and then at half-time, He told them if they continue to play the way they're playing without attitude and passion, there is a risk. So they were warned. It's not Jose's tactics. Yes, I believe he was wrong to put Winks and Sissoko together, but tactics-wise, he is not telling the players to sit back. It is complete and utter complacency from the players that they think that we have the God-given right to win these games because we are the better team. Jose is not telling them, so please, 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 online, stop blaming Jose for these tactics. Blame him for the little mistakes he makes. In the Arsenal game, Bale and Doherty as a combination was not great on the right-hand side. This time, Winks and Sissoko, not a great combination at all. But at the same time, he's only put one combination of players out there that doesn't necessarily work in our favour. But these players have the quality and the ability to win these games in these partnerships. At a professional level, Winks and Sissoko should be able to play next to each other with one of them taking the responsibility to help progress the game forward and look to play the ball forwards rather than all this sideways and backwards crap that we've been seeing from them. So I don't believe it's completely Mourinho's fault in the selection either. These players have been given the chance to prove they deserve to wear this bloody badge. They're the ones going out there, not putting in the performance and really making a mockery of everything that is Tottenham Hotspur. So, not completely Mourinho's fault, and I feel like he deserves to be given the summer to sign some players that he wants. He hasn't had enough time, in my opinion, in a struggling financial market, and it's still going to be a struggle in the summer, and I just don't see which manager we can replace him with that's going to do a better job at this time. But anyway, moving on. What else? Oh, he was asked by the reporter where the winners are in this squad. Now, Jose's reaction was a bit strange on this one. I do think now he's starting to believe that there are a lot of players that shouldn't be at this club. There's quite a bit of dead wood to get rid of. He looked very, very hurt during this interview. There was no excuses. He was very honest. And I feel like he could have been more honest, but it would have got him into trouble as manager of this club. I feel like there was a lot he wanted to say about some of those players that were on the pitch today and just couldn't say it because he was on camera. But, he actually said that he's not going to say it on camera, which means there's going to be some harsh discussions behind closed doors. He said his team didn't bring the basic fundamentals of football, and we didn't. We were terrible going forward with the ball. It was pass, lose the ball, pass, lose the ball. At times, we were just clearing our defensive lines when all we had to do was just look up and pass to an open player. But we were hoofing up the field with no clue as to where the ball was going. No kind of aim on it, no runs being made. It was very static. We didn't look like a strong European team. We looked like relegation battlers. He was asked about Hoddle's words because, Hoddle was very honest about our performances, and he said that he doesn't need Hoddle's words. Now, that wasn't an insult to Hoddle at all. It was just the fact that he knows his players were bad. But you could tell from this interview, he was hurt, disappointed, and he really wants to deal with all this stuff behind closed doors. You could see he really wasn't happy. And he actually apologised to the fans if, it didn't feel like the players felt the way that Jose feels. So this is Jose reiterating the fact that he wants to win every game. He's not setting the team out to go and play badly. They just are. And that's him really standing there saying, look, I want to win. The players aren't doing it, and I apologise that they haven't got the same passion that I have. Throughout the game, we've got to be honest, Jose did try and make changes. Positive changes. He brought on attacking players. Even brought Vinicius on. Once again, it was too late to bring Vinicius on, I think. But, we ended up with two out-and-out strikers on the pitch. And it just didn't work. I feel like him and Kane didn't really link up very well. I don't think they play together a lot in training. I have a feeling that what happens, because he likes to play with the one big guy and the small runners off the striker, I think when he sets up in training, he will have them on opposing teams as the solo striker with players running off him. You can tell they just don't work together at all. There is no kind of relationship between them. And the only way you're going to get that is if they play regularly. And I think there is times where we need to go with two up front. We shouldn't keep playing with this same system every time. You know, for all the changes that he did try and make, the players just still weren't doing it until so late on. I mean, it's disappointing. I don't really know what to say sitting here. I'm just shocked that we've gone out of Europe in this way with a 2-0 lead against inferior opposition. And even with them coming at us with everything they've got, we should have been able to cope with it. Would it have been different if Toby was there instead of Dyer? I don't really think so. I still think we were going to lose the game. I mean, we may have gone through because they might not have scored all three. But the fact is, we didn't deserve to win. And then moving on in the competition, you know, it's just an extra couple of games you've got to play. And based on that performance, there's no chance we were going to go through. We'd have got battered in the next round. The other interview to talk about is Hugo Lloris. His interview was very interesting, and I wonder what kind of backlash is going to come from it. If you haven't seen it, I won't talk about all the points. I'll just give you a couple of key things he spoke about. But whilst you're on YouTube, just go in, type, you can either type just Tottenham Hotspur, I normally type, and it will be one of the first ones, or just type in, you know, Tottenham Hotspur, Dinamo Zagreb. It will come up somewhere. He was not happy. He looked like he didn't want to be doing the interview for a start. And normally from Hugo, we have what you would expect of a captain. We have a very typical captain's interview. Even when we lose, he's normally, you know, quite nice about things. But I think he's had enough. He said it was just a disgrace. Just a disgrace. And I completely agree. It was woeful. It was disgraceful. But he didn't leave it there. He was saying things like, that's just the way it is at the club at the moment. So he's talking about ambitions and the fact that we want to win things, we want to move forward. Players need to be putting the effort in and show that. I think what he was saying is his ambition and the way he shows it is different to how a lot of the other players are showing it. You know, we've got big players within this squad. We shouldn't have to have Højbjerg on the pitch every single game to push us through. I know he was on the pitch for the Arsenal game, but he's not going to have a good game every single game. But he's been really good for the majority of them, and I think he's one of our leaders. And Hugo has been a lot more vocal recently. I think having Joe Hart in the squad has actually helped Lloris come out of his shell a bit more as a leader. But, you know, he just looked really defeated. And I have a feeling that he's going to want to go at the end of the season. I know there's been a lot of talk anyway as to whether we should replace him. But it was just very hurtful to watch Jose look so depressed and defeated in his interview. And then to see Hugo so clearly angry at the squad. And if you watch the documentary on Tottenham Hotspur, the All or Nothing, we saw a lot of confrontation in the dressing room at times when things weren't going well. So I wonder what was being said in the dressing room. We saw Dele was one of the guys that liked to have a moan in the dressing room. Eric Dyer is certainly quite vocal in the dressing room. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was a few words exchanged at half-time, and most certainly there would have been at the end of the game. But yes, Hugo, I think there will be conversations had with him after his interview. I appreciate it as a fan that he had such an honest interview, and he was asked to elaborate when he said about things going on at the club. What do we take from that? I mean, it could mean a number of things. It could be that some players are really up for this, others aren't. It could have been in reference to the manager. Is he taking a dig at Daniel Levy and the board? I don't really know, but I don't think it will be left. I think there will be words had, because Jose is very good in his interviews at giving us an idea that there's things going wrong, but really won't elaborate. Now with Hugo, for him, this was very, very unlike him in an interview. Clearly emotions for him were still running high. So something's gone on and something is going on. I think there's going to be backlash from this. I literally went on to my phone after the game just to have a scroll through Facebook, not even for the Tottenham fan pages, and it was absolutely everywhere. It's very honest, and I think he wanted to say more, but he knew that he couldn't. Did he cross a line? The club may see it that way because he's almost questioned the club. That may not be what he actually wanted to do. It may just be just the way it comes across in the way he constructs his sentences in English. Had he done an interview in French, maybe it might have sounded a bit different and come across a bit better. But I think, there's a lot underlying there. There will be backlash from it. But I'm happy he's come out and showed how disappointed he is, because that shows there's passion from our captain. He wears the badge. And many of them out there last night just didn't deserve to wear the badge. It was absolutely woeful. I think at the end of the season, there's going to be a lot of players they want to get rid of. But for me, that's pretty much it today. I'm very disappointed, as many of you are. I don't know where we go from here. And what makes it worse is Aston Villa is our next game. Aston Villa need to win to push for the Champions League, Europa League spots. And for us, I know I said the Arsenal game is a must-win. And luckily it wasn't a must-win because of teams dropping points around us. But this really is a must-win. It's going to be a very difficult game. Is Jack Grealish going to be back? There's been hints that he is. But yeah, it is a must-win game. This is desperate times, call for desperate measures. The players need to take a look at themselves. Jose needs to give them a dressing down. But we'll see. Hopefully we get a win. We'll be back on track. And I'm praying I can just come back to you guys with some good news. So what'll happen, I'll wait for the press conferences to come out for the Aston Villa game. I don't know if I'll be able to get a video out to you Saturday, because I am working, and it usually occurs that the press conference comes out and then I'm off to work straight after and don't have time to make a video. But certainly I will try and get a video up Sunday morning. The video definitely will go out before the game. It'll be posted all over the Facebook groups as well, so keep an eye out for that. And as always, come on you Spurs. Hey guys, thanks for sticking around for another depressing chat about Tottenham Hotspur. If you enjoyed the video, please support it with a like. If you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button and follow my channel. Thank you very much, and stay safe as always.